Hey there, every Wednesday I do an eyeshadow look and I let the dice decide which shades I'm going to use and how many shades I'm going to use. First, we're going to use a D6 to determine how many shades we're going to use, and we rolled a 6. For these 6 shades, we will roll first for the palette and then for the shades. For the sake of simplicity, we will number the palettes from the oldest to the newest. So the first palette is my Odin's Eye and Angelica Little Ghost palette. This palette has 16 shades. So if we get this palette, we will roll a d20 to select the shade. The second palette is the Odin's Eye and Angelica Trick or Treat palette. If we roll a 2, we will then roll a d20 because this beautiful palette also has 16 shades. The third palette is the Natasha Denona Mini Starlet palette. If we get this palette, we will roll a d6 again since there are 5 shades. The fourth palette is the Expedition to the M81 Galaxy by M81 Cosmetics. If we get this palette, we will roll a d10 because there are 9 shades in this beautiful palette. The fifth palette is the Titanium Foxes Crying by the Horses palette. If we roll a 5, we would then roll a d20 to select the shade in this palette because there are 15 shades in this beautiful palette. If we roll a 6, we will null the shade. For our first shade, we ended up rolling a 1 for the Little Ghost palette. For our first shade in the Little Ghost palette, we ended up rolling a 5. The fifth shade in the Little Ghost palette is Skeleton, which is this super light, bright, brightening purple shade. Now we roll the d6 again to figure out what palette we'll be getting our second shade from, and we ended up rolling a 2. The Trick or Treat palette has 16 shades, so we are rolling a d20 and we rolled a 14. The 14th shade in the Trick or Treat palette is a yummy murky green shade named Cauldron. When we rolled for the third palette, we rolled a 6, which is null. Rolled a 3 for the fourth shade, which is the Natasha Denona Mini Starlet palette. Because the Mini Starlet palette has 5 shades, we will roll a d6, and we got a 6. Because there are not 6 shades, we will go ahead and nullify this shade as well. We roll the d6 again for the 5th shade, and we got palette number 4. Because the Expedition to the M81 Galaxy has 9 shades, we roll what I think is a d10, and we get 8. The 8th shade in the Expedition to the M81 Galaxy palette is this light gray. We roll the d6 to see which palette the last shade will come from, and we get palette number 3, the Mini Starlet palette. We roll the d6 for the final time to see what shade in the Mini Starlet palette we get, and we get shade number 4, which is Rhea. So this is the final color story, because while we originally rolled for 6 shades, 2 of them ended up being nullified. So many options with these 4 shades. So today was a little bit of a struggle, but I started by mapping out the shape that I had in my head. I wasn't sure what parts of this I should cut out and which parts were good to leave. So I cut out a lot, but I also kind of took forever, so I might not have cut out enough. So I kept building and building and hoping that it would help, and it started getting a little bit too messy for what I had in mind. So then I dipped my brush into some eye makeup remover and went in with that to try to clean it up a little bit. As you can see, I kind of overdid that too. So at this point, I took a Q-tip to try to clean it up, and I took a little bit too much off. So then I went in with that light purple shade and started building it up all over my lid. I also started trying to use the purple shade to kind of diffuse some of the edges and try to shape the green a little bit more like what I had in my head originally. Then I started going in with the gray. I quickly realized that there is no visible difference on the eyelid between the light purple shade and the gray. And so I gave up on there being contrast between the two and just decided I was going to layer the two to try to make a pretty light gray, purple, almost white shade. And just kind of roll with it from there. I went back in with the green to try to build it up and diffuse it again. Once I was done building the green back up, I was pretty clearly still not happy with it. So I went back and forth a couple more times to try to get it kind of closer to what I had in my head. When I was finally done going back and forth, I tried to start the shimmer just in the center, hoping that there would be a noticeable contrast between the shimmer in the lighter two shades. There weren't, so I then gave up and decided I was going to put the shimmer all over the eye. I probably should have sprayed this shimmer first, but I didn't, so I just built it up a little bit dry and kind of accepted that this is going to be a softer, maybe a little less impactful look. As you can see, I was even struggling with the mascara application, so none of the struggles today are any fault of the eyeshadows used. I was just legit struggling with pretty much anything and everything today. But as soon as I'm done struggling with this mascara, that'll be the final look. Let me know, one, if you made it all the way to the end. If you made it all the way to the end, please leave me your favorite green emoji. And then also let me know what you think of this look. I don't really like it, but I'd love to hear your opinion too. Thank you so much for watching. I am looking forward to hearing your thoughts and making this better moving forward.